Previously on Anything Goes.
And do you ever go up to a young comic like that and say, hey, man, I got to tell you, I thought your shit was funny?
Yeah, and I mean, for whatever it's worth, not to, like, not to piggyback onto how great their shit was, but, like, I was that guy. Like, I started at 17. Nobody fucking gives a shit what an 18, 19, 20-year-old guy has to say about anything.
Absolutely.
Like,
especially especially if he's wearing a suit.
Yeah. Oh, I bailed on the suit after about a year, but but regardless.
Did someone have to tell you about to bail on the suit, or were you just sort of like...
I don't remember, but I'm sure somebody did. Yeah, I got a picture I can show you. One of my college buddies he'd been holding for ransom for the last 16, 17 years of tape of me, like one of my very first sets, and he lives in Atlanta. He gave it to me the other day.
Oh, you got to put it up. I put my first one up.
I know. It's pretty bad. So I took a still of so I could show people.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I used to. But yeah, I had to, like, I feel like there's two. I always tell young guys, because especially guys who start out really young, like, I really feel like a connection with those guys. You know, I always try to tell them, you know, maybe I save them a few minutes of making mistakes that I did, you know, or whatever. And that. There's like kind of two schools of thought in, like, there's the guys who are in their like late 20s when they start, and those guys are always like, oh god, I wish I'd started when I was your age, you know, that kind of thing. But I feel like both get you to the same place, because what I gained in stage time, you know, so by the time I was 27, I'd been doing it 10 years, you know, like, so that was great, but I'd only had valid shit to say for about a year or two. Like, nobody gave a fuck.
Right.
Like, I kind of finally... So, what 27-year-olds who start out bring to the table is they were like a human being first. You know,
way more life experience. Yes.
They had a job and had to pay rent and fucking had an apartment and, like, all that. Like, I never had... Like, my whole filter, my whole life has been through... My whole adult life has been as a comic, so I kind of feel like I got a little shortchanged on that end, where... It wasn't until, you know, I was 28 and I got married briefly that I was like, oh shit, like I'm like
an adult
I
now.
have stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's like that old thing of like you can always tell like how long someone's been doing stand up when their act is all about like observations about hotel rooms and daytime TV.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It was all like comic experience. Yeah.
And now, let's get to a new exciting show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for some laughs? Are you?
There are some people who could bring world peace if they weren't so busy hating everyone. This is Anything Goes with Darren Frost.
How the fuck am I funny?
Dave Martin.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
And Kathleen McGee.
And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Can you dig it?
It doesn't say anything to how much they care or do not care. Well, it says how much they do not care.
Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is they just released a press release about this upcoming festival they're going to do. And if you're just joining us, or if we're just cutting in, we're talking with Just for Laughs. And they just released a bunch of names, and the only Canadian name that is on the list is Deanne Smith in the official kind of lineup. Obviously, there might be more Canadians, but the bulk of the big names that they're pushing are American, which is pretty standard operations for them. And I mean, they feel that's what puts asses in the seats. But if you look at what Winnipeg's done and other festivals in the country, I think it's time that they do a more grassroots kind of festival and see what's happening. But, that's all pie in the sky dreaming for our purposes. I mean, I don't really care if I ever do it again. I've always said that since the last time I did it. So it doesn't really affect me. I don't really have a dog in this fight. But when you read things like what Matt Billen put, that he had a gala ready and he had to go to rehab and they never honored him coming back. That is kind of sad.
Well,
that's really sad. That's unfair and sad, but not. And the sad part is that it's not surprising. That's what the sad part is. It's not surprising, and they're not. I mean, where are they doing this festival? They're bringing Americans over the border. Like I just love.
I think it's going to be an online thing where people enter a portal and then they can watch their favorite comics doing comedy wherever they are, I assume.
Yeesh. Nope. Thanks. That's terrible.
Well, the thing is, it's sort of like I'm always surprised. Just as Canadian comics, we're always sort of like, if we're offered a gig, you're gonna take it immediately because you really don't know if it's going to come around again.
Right.
And I mean, when you said Matt had to go to rehab, he didn't have to. He chose to.
Of course.
And he was balancing, well, what's better for me? My
Right.
comedy career or this destructive path that I'm going on, and I should take better care of myself. So he put himself before his career, which is almost sometimes unheard of in this country or in any country or in any profession, especially comedy or show business, where you're sort of like, I got to hit this now or it might
Right.
not come out again.
Right.
So, I mean, I think he made the right choice by taking care of himself. And
But
I think
don't get me wrong. Just for Laughs doesn't owe him anything. They're a business.
No, they don't.
They
owe
don't
him
owe
anything.
him anything. He chose to not do it, and that's fine. But don't tell us that you care about Canadian comics and then do stuff like that when you could have easily, in the 4 years after that, just so everyone's clear, in case you don't know the post that this comic did, for 4 or 5 years he tried to get back in, and they always said they didn't have room for him. They could have found room. I don't buy that. I think that's just bullshit, personally. They could have, if they wanted to step up and do the right thing, they could have done it, and they just chose not to. It's a business. They can do whatever they want. They do it with taxpayer dollars, which is
That's my problem. That's my problem with them.
Yeah.
It's, yes, you're a business. Yes, you're a corporation, but you're taking grant money that Canadian comics have zero access to. We don't even have an opportunity to even try to compete for the grants that Just Laughs gets. And it's not like they're getting they're getting millions of dollars.
Millions.
And it's
millions.
And it's so frustrating because it literally just goes right into the pockets of American comics that don't even need it. Like, they already are making
there's
so much money.
There's arguments they make over $10 million when they back in all the different types of grants and tax credits. And I've always said, any person or business that gets money from the government, a certain percentage should have to go into the hands of Canadian employees. And what they should have to do is take 10%. If they just took 10% of 10 million, that's $1 million in fees. And if you could show me that they've spent $1 million on Canadian artists in 1 year, then I would back off and say, good for them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they don't. They don't.
No.
And they can't produce those numbers unless they're counting Russell Peters' a door deal. But nobody really considers him a Canadian comic. He doesn't live here. He doesn't operate here. Of course, by nationality he is, but he's a
Yes.
world comic now. So
Yeah.
I guess that would help with the tax credits and all that. I understand that. But at the end of the day, they could easily have done Matt a solid, and they chose not to. And it's just a long line of them doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if people knew how much they were paying Canadians versus what they were paying Americans, like, I don't know what somebody for New Faces gets, if they get anything, but I know for Homegrown, you got like $500 and you got a hotel for 1 night or 2 nights. And then.
Okay, you cut out there, yeah. So the one thing is like, when you talk about the money, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of stopped screaming my head off, because when everyone was going after JFL with the XM thing, I posted something, and very few comics reposted it, and that was what I call JFL math. And I know you guys know what it is, but just for everyone else, when I did the Nasty show in 2005, it was 15 shows that were sold out to 700 people paying $50 a ticket, and I made $100 Canadian a show. And I was one of 5.
right.
So my thing is, you can pay me that, but what do you need the credits for? What do you need the tax money for? Because when you start doing the math, that's over $500,000 at the door for those 15 shows. And based on what I know for a fact, they paid most of them, they paid way, way, way less than 1/5 of that to talent. So that's really the problem. There's no real ownership or accountability on where that tax money's going. And it's not going to change unless, what Sandra's doing is good work and all these people are trying to get together, but it's not going to change until, and I've said it, and I know I'm never going to do it again, they are one of the biggest problems in Canadian comedy, in my opinion.
Honestly, and it won't change because not all, what would have to happen is that all the Canadian comics would have to stop doing it. They would lose their grant money if Canadians were involved. And that's not going to happen. And we will be called bitter by some people because we're complaining about it. But it's just the fact that I'm so tired of being so undervalued and I can do just as well as as a New Faces American comic, as any, I've proven myself that I'm good enough. We've all proven it. Many comics have, and then they just use the same people over and over too. So it's kind of like, well, of course you're going to get bitter. Like, of course you're going to get.
Even the Canadians, they generally use the same people, and of course those people are going to go on record and say they've treated me well. And yeah, it's the always thing. When you're invited to the party, you love the party. When you're not, they're a bunch of douchebags. I mean, there's no other. Saying.
But I would love to see a comic, one of those comics that's constantly being invited to the festival to stand up and say something. But of course, no, they're not, because it'll hit their pocketbook, and who knows? Like in the long run, one day maybe Canadians will support Canadians as much as they support the Americans that they see on the sitcoms. But I don't know.
Well, there's not a lot of camaraderie. I mean, it's sort of like everyone is sort of just out for themselves, and also everyone thinks that, okay, well, I take this opportunity. And maybe some comics won't like me, but then in a year or two, there'll be some other bullshit that comes along that's bigger than whatever I did, and then I'll be, and this sort of shitty thing that I did for performing at this festival will go away. But it's just the opportunities aren't there anymore. And I mean, it's just, I mean, the nasty shows that you did. I mean, everyone who books the festival just believes that if you're doing the nasty show, you've already gone through that Just for Laughs chain. People already assume that if you're on the Nasty Show, you've already done New Faces. You've already seen by all the agents and managers. So it's sort of like Just for Laughs. The Nasty Show is just it's the most popular series of shows there. But I don't think any management or agents go there looking for talent.
Well, first of all, they're not even there. The Nasty Show happens during the French week of the festival. So there is no English representation. There are no agents or managers at all. Only in the last 5 years, I believe, that what they've done is they'll do one Nasty Show now during the English week because of that problem. But when I did it, it was just during the French week. We'd go back to the Delta, and there were French comics around, and we were just getting hammered and screaming in English, calling people cunts.
Right, yeah. But
when I did it, I did the Nasty Girl show, and it was during the festival, like you said, they did one.
Right.
And then, I mean, and that's how I met my management. And so it does happen. Canadians can actually succeed down there if they're given the opportunity to be on. That was the perfect show for me to be on. And I had a great set, and I proved myself, and I got some stuff out of it. So to say that, like, we can't get any of this because we don't have as many Instagram followers or we're not as famous, well, then help us get famous. Help us get Instagram followers. Like,
yeah. I mean, but
just,
you just work at a club this weekend, Darren, where the management I've had that argument with him about, why can't, like, whose fault is it after 25 years that there aren't Canadian stars in comedy?
Right.
And he'll be the first one to be like, oh, well, nobody's a draw. And then you're always like, well, whose fault is that?
Right.
Like,
I mean, there's the countless clubs. I used to do, tons of posters. I'd show up, the poster would be in the garbage or cut up for scrap paper. Or, I'd be trying my hardest to kind of jump that little fish of like, hey, let's get the word out. Let people know. And they just don't. They just treat it like you're the Canadian a lot of times. And it's just a kind of off week. And that's how they treat it. And they're like, there's been times where I've gotten a full-page article in a paper, and the owner of the club will be like, yeah, but next week Mike McDonald's coming in, or Emo Phillips is, and that's where we're choosing. And I'm like, yeah, but at that time, those guys weren't getting that press, and they just didn't care. And I drew for a certain period of time. I know now I don't draw anymore. It's just past it. I don't grind it anymore, and I'm okay with that. I'm not asking for it. But they didn't help. That's for sure. Everything they did was to hinder my ability to get the word out, even though I still did to a certain extent. But to me, that's the Canadian system. And I'm sure if we talk to American comics on the B circuit, if they're not A comics, it's probably very similar there too.
Well, my issue with JFL has always been that is the only festival that we're actually seen as artists in marks, and that allows them the loophole of getting all this grant money.
Right.
As we leave Montreal, we're not allowed access to our own grant money because we're not artists anymore, and it's just this. It's good business as far as JFL is concerned. They've found a loophole in the system that allows them to get this money, and it's bullshit because it's like I don't know how much money Winnipeg gets, or if they get any, or if it's all.
Oh yeah, of course they do, because they do stuff through the CBC. So inherently, right there, it's tax money.
Right. But I mean, but we're not seen as artists when we play Winnipeg, are we?
No. Well, it's tax.
Well, you get a TV credit, which credits for Canadians mean I can apply for a visa to get out of here.
Right.
That's why we don't want credits to be like, nobody cares if I go to Yuck Yucks and they say, Kathleen's been to Just for Laughs. Nobody in the audience cares.
Right.
The only reason Canadians want those credits is so that they can get, it looks good on an application for a visa or a green card. And that's it. It's not like we're getting hired because we've been to Just for Laughs, because at this point, there's so many Just for.
Well, I'd like to just see my mom see me on TV other than something than CP24. So other than me walking out of a marijuana store on CP24, I would like to see I would like my mom to see me on TV. So yeah, I mean, do I think that I'd like to do the Winnipeg Festival and just get a TV credit. But I mean, yeah, what I would do with it, who knows? So
I think at the end of the day, the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a massive change, because I think travel's still going to be hindered. I think there's going to be a bit of blowback. I think comics are going to get frustrated and maybe do something about it. And obviously what they're doing with the cask and all that, let's hope something happens, that it all kind of falls in a line and changes. I'm in the twilight of my career. My attitude is put a fork in my ass, flip me over, I'm done with that fight. Let's just hope something happens. That's all you can hope for now.
Well, you said that, but I mean, But
I got myself a puppy. I don't worry about these.
You got a puppy?
I got a puppy.
When?
I got a puppy a week ago, about 10 days ago.
Where's the puppy?
The puppy is in the crate. What's that?
What kind of puppy?
I got a mix of a Boston Terrier and a mini bulldog and a little bit of Jack Russell.
Oh my God, what's his name?
Macy.
Oh my God.
Yep. That's why my eye's all red, because it licked me and I got something in my eye.
I'm way more excited when my friends get puppies than when they say they're pregnant.
Oh yeah, me too. Especially the guys, they're more excited too.
Well, you can't abort, so
you can't keep a baby in a crate.
Well, actually, you can abort animals. When we got this cat that I found in the hallway of my apartment, at the time I thought she was pregnant because she was quite large in the belly. So I took her in to the vet to get her fixed and everything. And I said, I think she might be pregnant. And then the vet just nonchalantly said, okay, well, we'll just get rid of them if she is. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, well, we'll just get rid of the kittens if she is. I was like, you're not going to just stop and let her have her babies? And like, well, why would we don't do that? Like, she's a stray cat. We don't want to continue on with it. But I was like, okay. And then I was like, but I was going to keep her. And they're like, you don't want kittens. Like, I understand why. Like, the world doesn't need more kittens. There's kittens.
Yeah, but I didn't know there was cat abortions. I didn't know that.
Well,
I don't know how they do it. They just, they stir it up. I don't know what happens. I don't even know how real abortions happen.
I think they just take a can of Coke and put it in the cat's pussy or something like that. Doesn't it? I heard that.
No, Dave. It's Diet Coke and a Mentos, and then they put it in the cat.
Oh, okay.
You put it in the cat.
That's the new math. Okay.
Yeah. It's the home remedy cat abortion. If you ever bought that home remedy book in the 80s.
Is that no? What? No, but you're allergic to cats. I mean, allergic to dogs, aren't you, Darren?
I am. Yep. I am allergic to animals.
Well,
it's worth it, though, right? It's worth it.
My kids have asked. They're now of an age where. So we had to take care of a dog a year ago of one of our friends, and I looked after it for 6 months, and I kind of built up a tolerance to that animal. So I'm trying to do the same thing, and it's actually working. This is just not really allergies. She actually licked my eye, and I think I got something in my eye.
Oh.
But,
you know what? My dad did acupuncture for his allergies, and it did work.
Right.
He has allergies to cats.
I would consider that, but right now I'm not allergic to the animal, and my kids wanted an animal. They showed really good ability at taking care of the other dog. It wasn't just like 30 seconds and then never did anything with it. So I got 3 boys. They can look after the dog now.
I'm so excited.
That was sort of the friend of the show, Alan Park's dog.
Yes.
And didn't. Now, weren't you just kind of tired of the dog just going on and on about conspiracy theories and about the dog telling you?
Yes.
and putting weird comments on Facebook that don't make any sense.
Yeah, the dog kept telling you it wasn't real.
And just to piss him off, I kept putting a mask on the dog. Yeah.
And he could coronavirus.
Oh,
engineered.
Is he an anti-masker?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. He's Alan. He's a conspiracy guy. He believes what he believes, and I don't believe that, but he that's what he does.
Well, I got a job at a coffee shop, and my first day, this old guy came in, and he wasn't wearing a mask, and I didn't even say anything because I'm like, I don't want this battle. I don't want to say. I'm going to give him his coffee and let him go.
Right.
It's against the rules, but I don't fucking want to battle with this old man.
Yeah.
And then he was waiting for me to say something because as soon as I took his thing, he said, "So when do you think they're going to make us wear those Chinese uniforms?" And I was like, "Pardon me?" And he goes, "Those Chinese uniforms?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "Oh, you know what I'm talking about." And my manager is Asian, and he's saying all this right with her there. And I was so angry at him, and he kept on, but he kept going. He kept on saying, "Nobody under 19 has died from this. It's all old guys like me. So I don't need to be here." I'm like, "You're right. Like, you don't need to be here."
Yeah.
But it was just I'm so tired of people. Like, I'm just trying to do my job. I didn't even ask him to put on a mask because I knew he was getting a coffee and leaving. And then even when I said nothing about it, he threw it out there and it had to be like a male Karen about it. And I was just like, I'm so done with people that are like mask conspiracy people. Like, get the fuck out of this. Just go away.
My attitude is I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you believe. What I know is someone who's making minimum wage at a job should not have to fight you if you want to shop in that store. If you don't want to wear a mask, go somewhere else. Because I've seen it where someone at like the local food basics had to, this young kid had to go up and say, "You're not allowed in." And it's like it's an 18-year-old kid who doesn't want to fight with a guy who looks like me.
Who probably has anxiety.
Right. Who already, it's one of his first jobs and, he's having to deal with this shit. It's not in his pay scale. Now, if you're going to go out, you got to wear a mask. It's not fair to everyone else, whether masks work or not. It doesn't matter. You want to call me a sheeple? Oh, that's edgy. Why don't you go read another Far Side comic and get another fucking little comment? I don't have time for it. I got no problem with someone who doesn't believe in it. If they don't want to wear a mask, that's on them.
I don't like wearing my mask. I hate wearing my mask, and I have to work.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is these people can't wear a mask for 2 minutes to order a coffee and leave, and I have to wear one for like a full shift. Well, it's just like
it's like that famous video of that person yelling in a Costco. I have asthma or something, or I can't wear it. It's like you're screaming. You're literally screaming.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me you can't wear this for 2 minutes, or get someone else. There's online shopping now. There's so many reasons why you don't have to go out if you don't want to. So just,
I mean, and also these kids are just following their store policy. It's not like it's their idea for people.
No,
right.
I mean, and also it's sort of like, it's just how long are you planning? You'll just become a more efficient shopper at your Loblaws or your fucking Sobeys or whatever it is. Just know what you want, get in, get out, and then just. You don't. Once you get outside, I mean, I can't stand the people that I see driving by themselves wearing a mask.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I get that.
Or even walking on the street in a mask. I mean,
right.
I also remember when they used to give out like all these stats on pollution, and they just said, if you jog in the city of Toronto, that's the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes. And it's sort of like they would say, if you jog for an hour in Toronto, you smoke it. Just the natural pollutants in the air. That's the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes. But nobody wore a mask when that news came out. But like now it's like really, it's just, and also the anti-mask people. It's sort of like what? It's just this stupid inconvenience that, like I said, you didn't put up a big fuss when there was like a no shirt, no shoes policy. So now and also everyone's sort of like, it's mind control. I mean, like that's the one thing that's going to control your mind, that you have to wear a fucking mask for.
It's like there's the comic Patrick Coppolino just posted a couple days ago. It's been 6 months having to wear a mask. Haven't lost any of my freedoms yet. I don't know what to say, and there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, it sucks we have to wear it. Yeah, I don't want to wear it either, but I don't feel like, this is part of mind control. It's such a small blip in the radar of my life. It's not a hill I want to die on. It's just not.
Well, and when that old guy kept on going off about it, I like he said, I just finally said, well, I'm just gonna live my life and just do what I'm asked. I'm not even being. Nobody is being. I guess we're kind of being told, but we are mostly being asked to do it, and I'm just gonna do it out of respect for everybody,
right?
And just get on with my life. Like these people, like get on with your fucking lives.
A lot of free time.
If these are the steps that they have to implement for things to go back to normal, then I'll play along whether I believe it in or not. Just as long as whoever is making these rules for 50 people a show and this many people in a movie theater or this many people in a store while it to conduct your business, if following these measures relaxes those conditions, then I'll play along. But it seems like an endless battle of, like, I mean, quite honestly, that old guy that was like hassling you, Kathleen, I bet he left his house wanting to get into an argument.
Absolutely. Because I didn't say anything to him about putting a mask on. I was like, I don't want to fight this guy. I'm going to let him buy his coffee and sit down or leave. I don't care. But then I didn't say anything, and he still was, after he paid for his coffee, he's like, well, now I want you to hear me complain about this. And I want you to hear how I think it's a conspiracy and how it's just like the book 1984. Have you ever read the book 1984? I'm like, yeah, in school, where they control your mind.
There were no masks in 1984, so,
The other part is, and I read that thread, and someone made the same point. I thought of it, but I don't want to look like I'm stealing their idea. But man, take a look at the shirt you're wearing. It was probably made in China. Look at the pants you're wearing. Probably made in China. You're already probably wearing a Chinese uniform.
Yeah.
If you really broke it down. The mask is literally the icing on the fucking cake.
Right, yeah. That to me is always one of the craziest things that, like, no one ever called Donald Trump out on when he was talking about iPhones.
Yeah.
When he was talking about iPhones, and he actually says, why don't we make them here? Because, like, if you made an iPhone in the United States, it would cost you, like, I don't know what an iPhone costs now anyways, but it's like, it would cost you like $12,000 if you're going to pay all the union fees for just to manufacture an iPhone here. It's only because of those slave labor costs in making an iPhone that makes it so cheap, and they just and they can just produce them so fucking fast. Anyways,
and at the time it was proven that Donald Trump was wearing a Chinese-made tie. His ties, his brand was made in China, and he's sitting there like, well, why can't we make Donald Trump ties in Canada or United States? Right. I mean, I remember in the 80s or early 90s, they got away with made in USA on a tag on a shirt. The shirt was actually made in Bangladesh, but the tag that was on the shirt was actually made in USA.
Oh my God.
And that's how they got away with it for a period of time.
Well, because didn't they rename the zone where the factories were USA?
Oh yeah, they probably did. I think
that was the whole. That was like, it's sort of like, I mean, imagine if they just renamed. Okay, if all your factories were in Scarborough, part of like just outside of Toronto, and one day you just decided, and a communist government can do this, they just decided we're going to rename Scarborough USA.
Right.
So now we'll just label all our stuff USA, and as long as it just is like U, S, and A without the U dot S dot A dot, then people will just look at it and go, it's just made in the USA. Well, USA is actually now a small, like, district in China where shit's made. So, the joke is on you. So.
Oh, Dave, that guy lost his Saturday Night Live job just for doing something like that.
You were making such a good point, Dave, and then you had to race us at the end. That was nice, Dave. Nice.
Well, I just put out all the old episodes of the radio show, so if you want to cancel me, just start going through all those episodes.
Yeah.
There that you could easily, and some of it I remember Kathleen encouraging me to do.
Wouldn't it be nice if the internet just suddenly went away for like at least a whole year?
Well, I don't know where I read this, but if someone, whoever owns Twitter, if they decided to just eliminate Twitter, they would probably win a Nobel Peace Prize. Just like the amount of shit being thrown, the amount of anxiety being thrown, the amount of disinformation that's being thrown out there, the amount of hate groups, the amount of probably child and human trafficking that happens on Twitter through a series of codes that people can learn to use. They would easily win a Nobel Peace Prize just by making the world would be a better place without Twitter.
So, have you guys seen that documentary on Facebook? Sorry, not on Facebook, on Netflix about social media? I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's supposedly pretty damaging. Like, you should actually watch it. It really proves a lot of those points. Because to me, even just from my own life, the last 2 or 3 months, I've not been online very much. But the first 2 or 3 months of the pandemic, I was on a lot, and I can really tell a difference in my mental health. It's extremely different.
Oh, okay, I can't, but
yeah,
I thought it was the puppy.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, I really do think that it would be great if something like that did happen. There was, a purge, as you say, for 2 weeks of no social media, and see what happens.
Well, I think there'd be chaos at first. People would go fucking crazy.
Oh, yes.
Well, and a lot of people make money online. Like, guys, I have an OnlyFans, and I made $230 American today.
Right.
But that was today.
That would.
I know.
Fun.
I saw a friend of the show, Christina Walkinshaw, said that her OnlyFans.
She burps.
Yeah, she's gonna burp. But you know what? I'm sorry, but there are so many crazy sex fetishes out there.
Yeah.
There are guys that love burping and Roman showers and crazy shit of shit and piss videos, which...
Dude, the person who controls my website and helps me...
is a shit freak.
No, but she used to be on the other side of porn, like the manufacturing and making, and she always told me she made way more money with girls just rubbing balloons on them, and they're not even naked. Just rubbing balloons all over their chest, and people would pay a monthly fee to see that. It was always the fringe stuff that made more money than the traditional. Or women just smoking, that's all she did.
Yeah.
Topless, made a whole lot of money back in the 90s.
There's a girl that's making $10,000 American a month being a sexy puppy, and she doesn't get naked. She just walks around on all fours and goes and she makes $10,000. Like, if somebody, I get asked to see my boobs all the time, so I'm gonna finally cash in on it. That's all I'm saying. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, if boobs are that important to you, and you're willing to pay, and you want to, great. Let's make some money. Let's buy a wedding dress.
Yeah.
And Adam is, and it's not like I'm doing this. Adam is like, I've told him, and he's fine with it. And it's not, he's fine with it. And he's like, I'll help you take pictures. Like, we're going to make a family business. And then he's like, and that's when we got into porn.
Right.
Well, it is sort of stepping closer to that sometimes with some people. You see, do you know who that Trisha Paytas is?
Yeah, she does porn now, though. She officially does porn.
She does porn now. And she started off with just like some sexy photos, and she was on like America's Got Talent because she spoke really fast. But she's this blonde, bubbly, very curvy, sexy.
Totally Dave's type. 100% Dave's type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why he knows her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why I know her, but I'm not going to subscribe to her OnlyFans. If some other sleazy guy, uploads her porn videos, then maybe I might take a look, or I already have. But
well, then you're a shitty person, Dave. Then you're the shitty person, because the reason that OnlyFans is created is to stop men from getting this shit for free from women who should be getting paid for it. So you're a shitty person, David Martin.
Well, first of all, you don't need to tell me that. I already did.
I've told you that so many times.
I could have told you.
But that's why OnlyFans was created, because women were tired of being taken advantage of, and it was because the sex workers could not find a way to get their money into their own hands. And then that one dumb girl, Bella Thorne, came on and made $1 million in one day, but she lied and she didn't even post a picture, so it caused a huge thing. So it used to be when you got your money immediately. Now you don't get it for 30 days. And so it pissed off a lot of people.
Any way that you can cut out the middleman in anything is a good thing. And I think that, like this example, I don't know the example you're talking about, Dave, but I'm assuming she started out putting up sexy pictures. She probably made some money, and now she's making porn on her OnlyFans. But you know what? She's making all that money then.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with her making money, but she started off making music videos, and she did tour. And it's sort of funny that her original fan base, and this is the scale, this is the seesaw of it, where it's her original fan base was all these sort of I would say probably under 25 girls.
Yeah, she's a YouTube star.
Yeah, she's a YouTube star, and she had a lot of feeding videos too, where she would literally just eat a pizza for like 40 minutes, and people would pay to watch that. And it's, you know, I guess you just have to sort of ask yourself what you want your audience to now be. And I think she's sort of getting away from getting away from what she originally started off as. But it's sort of like, I think, you know, once you do porn, that's probably what you're
Yeah,
gonna
but I mean, at the end of the day, it's like eating pizza, doing porn. Is she going to be like, oh, I wish I stayed with eating pizza? I think she's like, I wish to make as much money as I can and do anything I'm willing to control and put out there, and I make all the money and what I'm comfortable with, and then that's what she does.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's hard to get jobs out there. Like, it's very hard to get jobs out there. Like, my resume is abysmal because I've been a comedian for this long time, and I'm a almost 40-year-old woman that has like retail and restaurants, and so nobody with a real job will even like give me an interview to find out that I'm capable of doing it. So you're competing for all this stuff, and then this comes along. It's like, well, you could make $200 a day just sitting at home and posting a couple pictures of your boobs.
First of all, you have a lot of transferable skills. I mean, before I was in comedy, I used to do resumes for people, and you could easily say you were a comedy booker because you booked your own shows, your own tours, and that is a legitimate job. Yes, you're also a stand-up comic, but all the things that you did, you probably did more than the average person wearing multiple hats running a business. So I understand what you're saying, but there is ways of doing your resume, because I've done it, and I've had leads turn into maybe opportunities I've kind of turned down. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It is a hard transferable skill for most people to wrap their mind around.
But also, you know,
and it's just,
when you mention comedy booker, you also think too, it's sort of like when you break down everything that's involved in booking a show.
Yes,
it is surprising how much goes into it and how transferable those skills are.
Yeah.
Well, I am a social media manager, but if I posted I'm a social media manager for Kathleen McGee, people will be like, no, you're not. Like, it's, you know, like it's they want these, and they want.
You are.
I am, though. I know I am.
And
but what I'm saying is,
you started that festival. That should be a big thing, like a founder festival. You know, booking so many venues, and for you know, like, these are all cute. Like, you know, just because you might not get the job you want based on what you.
I guess I just need to be more creative on my. I'm too honest. That's my problem.
Right.
I'm way too honest on my resume.
No. That's not being. You're not lying. Anything I just said. That's not a single lie. You've just got to flip the switch in your head to realize that people will see it as a business and not just me fucking around.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's when just as far as that Trisha Paytas is concerned, I just think, you know, it's what audience do you value more? I mean, all of her original fans are going to look at how she's decided to elevate her career. And I think a lot of her younger fans are going to be like, oh, well, that's the way I do it. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good image that you want to project.
You could say the same thing about Miley Cyrus. You sound like all the mothers that were complaining about Miley Cyrus. And you know what? If you don't want your child to get into porn, you talk to them about it.
Right.
It's not up to Trish Paytas to make sure that your daughter doesn't get into porn. It's not up to Miley Cyrus to make sure
all the girls to get into porn. That's what Dave.
But that's so frustrating. You're acting the reason why OnlyFans should exist is because of people like you that have these weird things and be like, you know, like, oh, she's gonna lose some of her original fans. But big deal. People grow. People change. People evolve.
Miley Cyrus has sort of gotten out of that phase of, you know, like, you know, doing things just to get attention. Like, you know, what?
Sure.
I mean,
the only thing I ever had against Miley Cyrus is when she was under like 17, 16 and they sexualized her. I didn't like that.
That wasn't her.
I know that. It's the machine. But her father was in the business to know enough to know that they would do this. But
so no one should hold that against her. They need to hold it against her father.
100%. That's what I've always said. And the machine. As soon as she turned 18, which I know it's just a number, and she's an adult now, she can do whatever the fuck she wants, and I don't think she has to worry so much about what her fans will look at and then try to emulate.
Yeah. And also, are you less of a person? Are you less of a woman because you show your body off and make money doing it?
You're half. You're half.
Or half. Like, are you less of a... It's so fucking frustrating. Like, women are sexualized from the time they can put on a cute little dress. I'm not kidding. Like, little girls are sexualized, obviously. Cuties. Like, listen... Well, I talked about Cuties with Sean on our podcast, and it's pretty interesting because he made a really amazing point where he said who are these people that are calling children sexy? Who are these people that are looking at this and being like, those girls look sexy? I'm like, well, you think that makes them look sexy just because they're like, they're kids. They're just kids.
But
I'm just so fucking tired of women finally getting something and then people shitting on them for doing it. And then, so there's no winning. So you just do what you want to do and fuck everybody who criticizes you. Like, live your fucking life is what I'm saying. And I think a lot of women are starting to do that because I get requests on a daily basis from people asking to see pictures of me naked or this and that. And not on OnlyFans, in Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. So now pay me and you can see them. I'm so fucking done with it. Like, I'm so done with it. And they look fucking good.
There was like one episode that we did ages ago. You said that you felt like you were getting more gigs because you feel like that you look better now and you feel, I don't know. I think that if you're getting more gigs, I think that's because you're a solid comic. Because we all know that, like, no matter how good looking you are, after about 5 minutes on stage, people, where are the jokes? So, but I mean, just as far as that, I don't think any of those girls that are on Toddlers and Tiaras and Dance Moms, would they have gone into that and on their own?
Well, I don't understand why everyone's all up against Cuties and Toddlers and Tiaras was on for so long. And, and Dance Moms.
Yeah, but Toddlers and Tiaras was 8-10 years ago. It's a different world. The problem with Cuties is, and I have not seen the movie, so I'm not going to judge it. I think anyone that judges it and hasn't seen it, I have no time for.
Right.
The marketing that Netflix did was a big mistake. Because if you ever seen the poster they used in France versus the poster that Netflix has done, it's a completely different movie.
Right, but then
it's a completely different movie. But do they sexualize those children in the poster? That's debatable. If you saw the original poster, it's just 4 girls walking in a pack kind of throwing their stuff up. It doesn't have the same image whatsoever. And the problem is that Cuties, actually, the movie, supposedly, based on reviews I've read, does the exact opposite. It talks about how we're sexualizing children and it's bad and we're forcing children to do shit. And the director now is coming under fire. But before the Netflix deal, it was a worldwide phenomenon. Like, she was, loved, and like her story is a pretty interesting story of a woman and all her triumphs and tribulations. So the problem is one poster has set the world off, or at least North Americans off, because it's the pandemic and they got a lot of free fucking time.
Yeah.
Right.
They haven't even watched the movie and they're like, I don't have to watch the movie.
Right.
Meanwhile, their own children are on TikTok twerking.
Right. Well, that's the thing too. But it's sort of like, what the message is. It's a coming of age story of this 12-year-old, 11-year-old girl. And the dance scene in it is like one very small part of the movie. And
have you seen it, Dave? You seen the movie?
No, I haven't seen it, but I've read a lot of.
That's fine. That's fine. I wanted to know. Okay, yeah.
Reviewing it, and also after the dance sequence, the girls realize, and first of all, the audience in that scene is booing them.
Right.
And so then the girls realize, well, this is not the way that we should get attention for our dancing. And so it's supposed to be this big lesson learning moment in the movie, but the lesson has been lost in the marketing of the movie. Right. But more of anything, it should be shame on Netflix for thinking. It's like when a company tries to market something to an audience, they're trying to get into the heads of the audience and go, what is going to make this audience, open wide, bug out their eyes and go, oh, I want to watch this. So it's sort of like, it's more Netflix thinking, this is what we need to do to sell this movie.
It's controversy. It's a controversy, gets people talking and gets people watching. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what happened. No press, all press is good press, blah, blah, blah. But the effect that it's going to have on the director, who had her own story to tell, and that's getting lost in the amplification, is the problem.
But I also don't, but it's the statement that that little girls, 12 or 11, 12, 13-year-olds watch what gets popular in pop culture and media and think this is what I'm supposed to do to get popular too.
Yes, but then their parents should be sitting them down. I've had a discussion with my 3 boys, and we've talked about it. So if my oldest son, who's like 17 now, watches Wet Ass Pussy, I'm going to sit down with him and talk to him about that video. That's my job. It's my job to make sure that they don't go and do this shit out there based on something they see in a fucking MTV video.
I know that I would always like to say, well, it's the parents' responsibility, but clearly Clearly, there are a lot of bad parents out there, because I'm sort of like, well, who signed your 8-year-old up to TikTok and now you're filming your kid twerking?
I agree.
You know, and it's just, I mean, well, these are still parents that want to cash in on their kids and try to hopefully they'll make some money off of them. But it seems like such a,
I have three boys. None of them are on Facebook. None of them are on Instagram, and none of them are on Twitter. Actually, that's not true. My oldest is 17. He's on Instagram, and he's only on it to be able to communicate with his friends at school through social media. That's the only thing he's on. Because from the very beginning, we've sat down with all of them and said, this isn't something that you should spend too much time on. You're getting addicted, and it's a bad thing.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe you're probably one of the few parents that watches.
And I know I am, because
he is.
He tells me all his friends are on these things.
Most people don't talk to their children. To be honest with you, most people don't. My mom always told us that if we wanted to drink, she'd rather we drink in the house with our friends than go into a field. You know, my mom said, if you're ever somewhere and someone wants to drive you home drunk, you call me. I don't care what time, I'll come get you. Right. If you talk to your kids and you let them feel not scared for making mistakes, then
we miss you.
Yeah.
You cut out on us, Kathleen. I mean, that sounds all fine and dandy, you know, if you just want to, if you want your kids to drink in your house or be on social media in your house. But, you know, when I tell my mom, well, how am I going to learn to carjack if I have to stay in home at my house all day? I'm not going to be able to learn how to carjack. So
no, you can. Dad can show you carjacking. It's possible.
Yeah, I just have to practice running up to him when he pulls in the driveway with a pretend gun and just go, get up, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I mean, eventually I'll learn, but you know.
And hey, I'm no ace parent. People, oh, you're a great dad. I'm not a great dad. I'm not. You know, I try. I probably could do better. I think every parent can do better. But there are certain things that parents should be doing more of, and I'm just trying. By no means am I the perfect parent or a great parent.
But nobody is perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. There's no such thing as a perfect human.
There's 10 things my kids do wrong, and I should be doing more for them. But hopefully you do enough for the right that when they, you know, get to a certain age, like they don't drink, they don't do drugs. First of all, I'm lucky. 2 of my kids can't even do drugs. If they do drugs, they'll die because of their heart condition. They're literally told they can't smoke pot, they can't do drugs. That's it. If you do, your heart condition, you're done.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't do edibles. That doesn't mean they can't do edibles or other things, but they cannot smoke or ingest drugs the traditional way because of their heart defect.
Have they tried?
No.
Oh.
Dave.
Well, you know.
Dave.
What?
Dave never become a father.
Yeah.
Never become a father.
Carjacking, then weed. Come on, Dave. There's an order to this. Carjacking, then weed.
Well, I think if you smoked weed, you probably wouldn't bother carjacking. But
probably.
Well, don't worry. I'm not in a position to have kids. Remember that urban myth you used to always hear about the kid climbing over the fence and his sack getting ripped open?
Yeah.
Well, that was, anyways.
You ripped your sack open? Is that from your surgery?
No. I was talking about when I was like a 9-year-old kid climbing over a fence.
Hang on. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Listen up out there. This is Jeremy Hotz
and Pat Thornton, and
you're listening to Darren Frost and Dave Martin on Anything Goes on Canada Laughs.
Yeah.
I thought, Kathleen, you are now branded on a woman's leg as a tattoo.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about this. Then we got a couple minutes and I got to go. But yeah.
I made the tattoo. Darren is on that body part as well. We're all there. I'm the first woman, which was very nice.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you inspired me to do this tattoo with your lady tattoos. And I was super honored. Like, no, it wasn't creepy. Some people, was it creepy? No, it's not creepy at all. I'm like, that I've affected somebody that much that they want to put me on their body forever. I think that's really cool. Like, I'm very honored.
Oh, yeah. No, I never thought it was creepy. I thought it was... No,
I know you didn't, but...
I quite a chance that someone would take or just be like, I believe in this person so much in their past that they're not going to do any... You know, it's sort of like, if you Google Bill Cosby tattoo, there are a lot of people that have gotten some Bill Cosby tattoos over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And you just think, well, you know what, you could get a tattoo of the character, not the person, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Get a tattoo.
Well, I almost got a Roseanne Barr tattoo. That was one of the ones I was going to get. I might still, because Roseanne was huge. Roseanne, as much as people hate her for some reason, she was huge for me growing up.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing like a regular looking woman that was funny that's what my tattoos are. Like Shelley Long is the same thing. Like I always loved Shelley Long because she was so funny and weird, and she didn't have to be like this hot thing and she seemed like she had a brain. You know, it was cool.
In some ways, I wish April is the woman's name who's got the tattoos. I kind of wish she got in smaller versions of the comics because she's starting to run out of space.
But it's really hard to do portraits small.
I know, and so yours is like a very big picture on her leg. So that was my first. I'm like, oh, she's not going to be able to have too many more. So
am I bigger than you?
I think you are. I think you are. Based on the placement on her leg, I think you are. I think you're probably the largest.
So too.
What's that?
I said rightfully so that Kathleen would be.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't written down that tattoos are not to scale. So
right.
It's like maybe I'll get to be over her butthole or something if we.
That's what I said.
Oh my God!
The only one you have left. You just got to get Dave Martin left.
Yeah. Then we can do a tribute to the show.
That's right. Your mouth can be her asshole.
Then I can talk all the time. Yes.
Here we go.